Hi, ladies. Welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, and I am so excited. I am joined today with one of my fabulous success sisters, Hollywood. I can never say your name, like just as it's Hollywood. It always has to be Hollywood. She is
I know.
a marketing and mindset mentor for solopreneurs. So essentially, you're like a digital marketer guru and also a positive psychology coach, which is just an incredible, powerful combination. So thank you so much for being here with
Thanks
me
for
today.
having me.
I'm super honored to
Excited.
have you. Me too, because we always have such great, like, interesting conversations. I love everything about Holly, like her energy, her vibrancy, like your whole message is always really, really like inspiring. So I'm super excited for the ladies to have a bit of Holly in their life, essentially.
Oh, a bit of Hollywood in their life. Yeah.
Yay.
And yeah, I now can't say my own name normally. So imagine what it's like when you're just like at the school run or, you know, at the supermarket or something and you're like, Hollywood. I feel like I've got to do a little dance with it.
I'm Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be like rolling up like Snoop Dogg, right?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not as cool.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing like a formal intro so everybody kind of knows the bad bitch that they're dealing with, because I know that there's been kind of a few transitions, hasn't there, in your career as an entrepreneur? And obviously, you know, I'm super excited to dive into that journey more.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. So yes, I am Hollywood and it is a great icebreaker and I was married into the name. My parents didn't have a sense of humor, as lots of people seem to think when they find out my name. But yeah, I am a digital marketing focused business mentor for women solopreneurs, and I'm also a certified positive psychology coach. I feel like that's such a huge mouthful to have in your bio, but whenever I kind of summarize it, I always say I'm a marketing and mindset mentor for women entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'm super passionate about women getting visible online, being strategic about it, and attracting their ideal clients. And it's really key for me to make sure that as women entrepreneurs, we feel like we're flourishing. And there's so much more to flourishing than just the like marketing and the sales. And that's where, for me, the positive psychology piece has really come in. So I kind of integrate the two with my gorgeous women.
Yeah, I love that. I fully kind of am in alignment with your values, because I think if you can just get a woman that feels truly empowered and really, you know, her business is a full expression of herself, that is going to sell online. That absolutely translates and calls in those ideal clients. So I love that approach, that it's because I've certainly worked with marketing coaches before, and it's just very masculine strategies, and it's like you just do XYZ and that's it. And it's like, no, there's like a whole other piece that
So
needs
much
to
more
be
to
before
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you started in as a digital creator, is that right? Or were you like a marketing manager? Like, where did your journey begin?
Yeah. So I guess to like shorten the very first part, which is, you know, like I'm sure lots of your gorgeous listeners here, I did start out in the kind of corporate world, 9 to 5, but it was always in events, always in kind of brand work. There was always that little bit of creativity in the work that I did. And I mean, I look back now, it must be 12 years ago, 13 maybe, I started a blog. And it was before blogging was a thing. Like, it was when you'd say, oh, I've got a blog, and people would go, huh, what? You know, like, be really, what the hell? And I started a blog to kind of document my work. So I did a bit of wedding planning at one point and my events. So I kind of started throwing it all up online. And then when I moved from London up to Manchester, where I live now, I started just writing a bit of a diary, really, about that transition, about discovering a new city. And so what I didn't realize at the time was I was building my digital marketing skills with absolutely zero intention or strategy about it being anything else than maybe a bit helpful if somebody Googled where to eat in Manchester, but mainly to document my own kind of journey. And, you know, fast forward that, I really found a love for it. And I found a love for what we now call content creation. I don't think it was ever called that back then. You know, we didn't have all
I'd love to know, just as a side note, like what platforms you were using, because I started business like 8 years ago, and Facebook for Business wasn't even a thing. Like, I didn't even have
No,
an Instagram page for it for years.
there was nothing like that. So it literally was a WordPress blog. I think I used oh God, is there a thing called Blog Lovin'?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, which was an app that you used to be able, not an app, there was definitely not an app because that would be too sophisticated, but it was like you could follow other blogs and you'd get kind of an RSS feed, you know, an update of like who's released a blog this week. There was nothing kind of savvy about it. There was nothing, social media wasn't really a thing. What I did do, I would say actually, it was Twitter. I would share all my blog posts on Twitter. And, you know, before I knew it, I think I had about, I don't know how many followers I've got on Twitter now, maybe like 6, 7, 8,000 followers on Twitter. I didn't even know what that was. You know, I didn't know what having a follower meant. You know, you didn't think like that back then. It was just, okay, I'm creating content. And I realized very quickly, and actually I should say here, my husband is a digital marketer. So he's always quite savvy in terms of like, you know, he runs a marketing agency. So he was like, babe, you know, you're getting like thousands of hits to your blog every month. I was like, no. Like, don't even know how to check that. He was like, yeah, you know, you're ranking top for like places to eat in Manchester or whatever at one point, you know. And I was like, what? So I didn't have any strategy or anything other than a passion for writing, and it was obviously a really nice release. I've always loved photography, so I used to go out with my digital camera, no like phone photography or anything like that, and like go and take really nice pictures and upload them, spend hours, pre-kids may I add, because I don't have time for that now. You know, when I used to have
selfie
things
and off we go.
Yeah, I used to have things called evenings. I would, you know, sit there for hours and get lost in it. And yeah, as I said, I sort of what was happening without even realizing it was I was building my digital marketing skills. And then when blogging started to become, I wouldn't even say a thing, but a bit more, people were a bit more aware of it, and Instagram came out as a photo sharing app, which I got really interested and excited in. I think it started to take off. And what I realized now, and we'll probably touch on this further on, I was seeking a community. So I was in a new city, and I was doing something that not many other people did, and I had no one to really talk to about it, no one that was interested in what blogging was. It was in those days where you would literally hide taking a photo of your food, you know, because
it'd be really embarrassing.
Like, yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. So, you know, I had no one. And what I did was put a tweet out and just said, is there anyone else in the Manchester area who's into blogging? If so, do you fancy meeting up at a pub? And like 30 people replied within minutes. And that was the start. That was my first ever meetup. So I ran a meetup, hosted it, went into my full on like events, you know, head on. And that was the start of my first business, I guess, called We Blog North. And it was all about building a community and championing content creators or bloggers in the North, because the scene was starting to pick up in London, but it certainly wasn't really up here. And so that was kind of what was a side hustle whilst I was still in my 9 to 5. And I very quickly realized that I could make it more of a thing. And so I started to host events and sell tickets. And I even founded an awards ceremony up here, a huge, huge awards ceremony with brands. And this kind of all built on the side. And then I chose to be pregnant. And there was some element of choice in it. And went on my first maternity leave, and actually was made redundant during my maternity leave, which is probably another conversation. But what it did do was give me the kind of impetus to go, actually, let me think about this and let's see if this could be a future for me, and could be a job that wasn't just, you know, a bit of extra cash here and there. And then I went all in on business. And so after that, it sort of started to, as you do, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you grow and evolve. I suddenly never identified as being an entrepreneur at all in any stretch of the imagination. It was just like, oh, I'm just doing this thing and facilitating these, you know, experiences. and then started earning money from it and realized, okay, that apparently I am a business owner now. Apparently I
Check
am,
me out. I'm a boss babe.
yeah, I'm a boss babe. I didn't even know it. And you know, and then that's seen various iterations. And I would say probably during lockdown was then, like I'm sure for many people, a point where it was a really reflective time for me. And also, if I'm really honest, like brand blogging, influencing work, which I'd been doing as well, really dried up. And I suddenly realized, well, for me anyway, you know, I'm not a huge level, I wasn't a huge level influencer. I was kind of a what you say, mid-range influencer, I guess. And it really dried up for a few months. And it made me think, this is not how I want my business to be. Like, I don't want to be reliant on that. I don't see myself doing that even in 5 years, let alone, you know, 10, 15 years. So it made me kind of rethink, what can I do and how can I pivot my business? And that's when I moved more into the entrepreneurial space. So
I love that journey, because I think honestly, it's so interesting. And I think there's so many things that you mentioned that absolutely intuitive, like we're so aligned on. I think it's quite interesting I'd love to do a poll one day, and this is probably going to be like the thesis for my book, but how many women actually kind of accidentally fall into their business, and like, I accidentally created a business and I'm accidentally quite good at it. Like, we're so intuitively led. And absolutely, that was definitely my journey, moving from being a physical business owner to a coach and an entrepreneur online. It was like a whole, like, oh, I'm kind of doing this thing now. Oh, and it's kind of making money, and oh, okay. And then you kind of obviously like up level that and da da da. But what I love is that you also, so one thing that I feel really passionately about when working with women, it's about getting that mindset to be in it for the long game and building businesses that are sustainable and can evolve as you do. And where you said to yourself, like, yes, this is kind of making me money, and I should be grateful for this journey up to this point. But actually, when I think about what the next 5 or 10 years look like with more intention and purpose, this is no longer aligned, and that's okay. It's okay for me to evolve on something else. So that feels really exciting as well.
Yeah, I'm so about that. And actually, that's interesting you picked up on that, because I think I look back, and obviously I was at the beginning of this blogger influencer journey before influencers was a form of marketing now that brands, you know, invest millions into. I was riding that wave a little bit, again, unknowingly. And there was a point where I thought, I need to either go all in on this, or I need to like figure out how this could grow. And I watched some people go all in and take off. And I, you know, used to at some point think, oh, if only I'd just bloody shown up in the way that I would now say, or have the confidence to back then, I could have been making loads, or I could have been working with all these top brands and blah, blah, blah. But somewhere in my head, I knew that wasn't my journey. And like you said, I was looking at that long game. And this is something that I come back to with my clients all the time, and why I'm so passionate about digital marketing as a whole is that I work with people who want to set themselves up for the long run, who want strategies that are going to work for them for months and years to come, not just that quick win, or, you know,
having an aesthetic feed. It's more about building a brand and the whole piece, isn't it?
Exactly. And like I said, I unknowingly at first was building a brand online, and I think obviously 13 years later that stood me in good stead when I rebranded as the Flourish Mentor. You know, I kind of had all those tools that I could use and that I use with my clients, and I'm actually using them myself, and it works, you know. So, but yeah, I think big game thinking or long-term thinking is really underrated. I know it's not as sexy necessarily, but I think
it's the key to success, though, isn't it? Because essentially, for me, being an entrepreneur is about living life on your own terms. And truly, when I was in corporate, it was almost like a watered down version of me. And I love some of the things that you've done intuitively to really kind of develop your voice through the medium of content creation. But I think it's so important for us as women to experience that freedom. And it comes from being in something for the long game, and that's where you truly find what you're capable of. Like I said, corporate me was very different to me as an entrepreneur. I definitely would have said, I'm no good at sales, I'm not very, not very motivating, and I'm not very creative, and all of these things that I kind of discounted in myself.
Yeah.
As actually now, God, this is like the best version of me. I love me. Like, I'm a badass now. I never used to be. And it's only because I've put very unsexy systems and processes in place,
Yeah.
and had that big picture thinking that has enabled me to keep riding this wave for like 8 years straight, rather than, kind of businesses that have come and gone because they didn't have that mindset.
Yeah, totally. And that's it, because you fundamentally, one way or another, you have to start with a passion, right? You have to start with feeling so passionate about doing something, whatever that is, that's going to drive you through. And I think, the kind of quick fix stuff, it comes and goes. It's a flame that like extinguishes very quickly. And if you don't have that underlying passion, and it like, I'm very much also, big picture, long term, but don't get caught up in thinking you have to know what that exactly looks like, because I think that's the other thing. I would have never have said 12, 13 years ago that this is what I would be doing now. I would never have, I probably don't even know what 5 years me looks like in terms of these specifics, but I know that it's going to carry me through.
There's a trajectory there.
Yeah.
I think exactly the same, but that's also the beauty of it, the beauty of life anyway, because I'm super spiritual, that we're here to grow and expand and experience all we can and be all we can be. But also the beauty of business, that you genuinely don't know, because we only know from this vantage point, and really the sky's the limit. And I think what you were saying, and we were talking earlier, because obviously you've got a podcast as well. And one thing, again, that I feel really passionately about for women in business is that you really find that deep connection with yourself. And the way that you did that intuitively through creating content and finding what you liked, and, naturally what you were leaning towards in terms of content, like that is invaluable. Don't you think?
Totally. And again, because it's that accidental, isn't it, that we said earlier, I just went with, when it came to content creation, particularly when Instagram came out, I remember thinking, I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing today. And especially when I had a baby, and it was, as that sort of mummy blogger world was starting to come out, mummy blogger influencers and things, which was such a great movement for bringing awareness to women that like parenting is hard, can be tricky, there's a juggle. And I remember just thinking, I'm just going to like share, don't really know why or what I'm going to share, but that was the thing that caught people's like imaginations, was that they were just like in the world with me, and just seeing that the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the struggles. And like I said, there was no strategy behind it. Now you say to people, like, let people know you, let them get to trust you and like you and see behind the scenes. But back then it was like, that was quite a new thing, and I think
there's definitely a shift in that, isn't there? Because it was very much about the polished version, the highlight reel, the Instagram worthy version of you. But actually, what people want now is authenticity and connection. They want to see the raw behind the scenes. Like that's really interesting to me. It's almost like the bubble burst. Like this came onto the scene, and suddenly it was like everybody needs to be filtered, needs to be perfect. And then we kind of got a bit bored with that. And then thank God that bubble then burst. And now it's like the rise of the genuine, heart-led, like passionate people that want to do good things.
Yeah. And I think I've probably always been the latter. I think I struggled to do the polished bit, and I struggled to do the curated grid.
Me too.
And I think that's probably stood me in good stead in the long run, is that actually I can only ever really do me. I'd love, I've tried to do the sort of fancy edited pictures and, pretending that I'm on the cover of Vogue and all that, but actually it ends up being in my living room with laundry behind or whatever. But I think that for me and my audience, that's what they feel comfortable and good and, they can relate to. And I'd rather be that.
And that's what's sustainable, isn't it? If you're trying to project this perfect image, life is inevitably going to like, it's like when you're doing your life and your kid's running. That's essentially life, isn't it? It's going to run in and like embarrass you at some point and be like, she doesn't put her washing away, and like da, da, da. So it's better to just be honest.
Just own it.
Yeah, and all of these perceived weaknesses now actually become your superpower. So definitely for me, just personally, a bit of a personal kind of side note there. One of the things that I've realized as I've kind of, found my voice and my confidence as an entrepreneur over the years, things that were perceived weaknesses. So I've got ADHD, so I am very high energy, quick, like my thought process can be quite erratic actually at times. And that felt like, oh my God, that's a weakness. And actually now I'm realizing that's what makes it really great. Like I've leaned into that now as a superpower, because it means when clients work with me, they're getting so much energy, they're getting quick results, they're getting creative solutions, they're getting workarounds in the moment. Like we can just keep it moving and keep going. So that's what I love as well. It's like all of those, like you were saying, I can't be anyone else but me. I'm not that polished version. That's actually turned into your superpower, because that's what's made people more endeared to you and given you that greater platform.
Absolutely. And that's where like that attraction piece, that client attraction comes in. And actually, I love that you've talked about that, because strengths are something I'm so like excited by. So something I really discovered during studying psychology, and particularly positive psychology. And I'm sort of delving a little bit more into the strengths coaching side of what I do as well, is that so many of us are not aware of what our strengths are, or through their past, whether it's family, parents, work, society, have been, particularly as women, made to believe that those strengths aren't strengths.
Yeah.
Or, like how many times have we been told, the good old, like, oh, she's bossy. Like, no, she's assured and she's a leader.
Assertive.
Or, I used to be sort of a bit uptight with arrangements. It's like, no, I'm a really fucking good, like, project planner and like event planner, and so often a lot of my clients will come to me and have almost been trained out of realizing or of recognizing what their strengths are, or aren't aware of how to utilize them. And I think it's so key. So those things that you just said about you, I love that you're leaning into that. And that's the bit that's going to attract the people that need that energy, that need that quick thinking and that vibe. And if you weren't leaning into it, like, you're not going to get the right clients, and you're not going to, and they're not going to get the best from you either, and vice versa. So yeah, I think it's so key for us as entrepreneurs to really understand our strengths and use them and lean into them, for sure.
Yeah. I love that you said about detail orientated, because I definitely used to get that, in the sense that it's like I can kind of pivot, and sometimes I've become a little bit obsessed with the detail. I also have an events background as well, and it would be like, but you don't understand the implications if this isn't like right, the knock-on effects of that. Yeah, like you don't understand. And I'd be like, oh my God, like, do I need to like get a life? Like everybody's like, she's so, just go with the flow. And I'm like, no, go on.
People, there needs to be a good balance. There needs to be a balance of people like us and people that are so laid back. So my husband won't mind me saying, he is so laid back, he's almost horizontal, and he's always like, it's this thing. And I'm like, yeah, but babe, if you didn't have me, you wouldn't get anything done or turn up anywhere. And vice versa, if I didn't have him to kind of, sometimes mellow me out. So you need a mix of everyone. But yeah, I mean, I remember, I think on the days where you used to write a CV, it was always conscientious, and I was thinking /OCD with arrangements, like that. It has to be. But it's a strength. It's a strength that people need, and some people don't have. So they, employ people like us to bring it out.
And I love that there is this kind of like this movement now, like I said earlier, about that kind of just showing up with your best self, owning all parts of yourself, and just letting your business become an expression of that is now almost like it's becoming more acceptable, because there's so many incredible women out there that have these amazing gifts that just don't fit the typical mold of what the online space or the algorithm tells you is like acceptable as and what success looks like, that they're almost like taking themselves out of the game. They're not even trying. Like definitely for me, for years I found social media super intimidating, because I'm not, I'm super short. I'm like very last minute. I'm like, I get ready, like do my makeup in the car on the way to the thing. Like I'm just not anything like what I thought like influencers and stuff would have been, or these beautiful, successful women. And even now I'm like, okay, well, when I do it, I make room for somebody else to know that it's okay for them. But I'm loving that more women are now stepping up to that, position as entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, without going too off on a tangent, but when I was studying for my master's in psychology, I love anything to do with like behavioral psychology, personality, Myers-Briggs kind of stuff, like personality profiles. And I really realized the link between that and marketing, and like how, because we're not, most of us aren't agencies, or we're not sort of faceless brands that can bring in teams to tick all the different boxes. Like we are, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are solopreneurs, or growing a team underneath you, the face of your brand. And of course, your personality is going to impact your marketing strategy and your business growth strategy. And what I realized, I'm someone who's extroverted, and I mean that in the sense of I really energize with people. Like, I'm not sort of a like got to be in the center stage, but I know that I flourish with the energy of other people. And I realized a lot of my clients were introverts. And
so did they like gravitate towards your energy as almost like that leader?
I think so. And I think also, without getting too like into it, because might be boring to some, but I'd say I'm an introverted extrovert. So I'm quite balanced. So I get it. I understand, and one of my strengths is a relator as well. So I really understand other people. Like I get quite a good sense of. So like I think I can
almost like you can really feel how that must feel.
Yeah, and I can tone and adjust to different people in different situations. And I think I sort of noticed the trend that I was like, hold on, loads of my clients are introverts or saying they're introverts and having a similar struggle in this growing online space and this growing social media space. And so for me, again, that awareness and understanding of your own personality can be so liberating when it comes to your digital marketing strategy. Because
just a super side note, actually, now you've said that, I've realized I obviously work with human design, so it's like kind of similar, because again, I realized like what one strategy, and that's revolutionized my whole business coaching model, in that originally I was very much like, but this is what success looks like, this is what I've been trained in, and these strategies work for XYZ, but actually it doesn't. One size doesn't fit all.
No cookie cutter.
And I've realized that I've attracted a lot of projectors, and I'm like, it's such a rare human design type. I've got 3 one-to-one clients that are projectors, and I'm like, but like, what are the odds of that happening? Probably not many, but maybe it's because I am such a manifesting generator. It's like they're drawn to that energy. But so if you had somebody that was more of an introvert and somebody that was kind of maybe easing their way into this space right now, what would be your tips around how to really allow them to shine online?
Yeah, so I always kind of talk to people about, because generally I think we can take the example that everybody has probably come up at some point with, which is reels, right? This kind of the growth of reels, and everybody feeling like they have to be dancing around or pointing and face on and chatting. And that strikes the fear into probably half the population. And so what happens, like you said, is people end up
and their children, who then like they're like, Mum, please stop, no, don't do it.
My daughter loves it. She photobombs me all the time. But yeah, and so they end up taking yourself out the game, because you think, well, if that's what you need to do to be successful, I can't do it. I'm not the right sort of person. And that's what I can't stand, that, for people, because there is no right sort of person. Like, we can all make our own space and carve our own, space here in the online world. And so I would then look at, okay, so how can we focus on your SEO strategy? How can we look at blogging, or what do you love to do? I have so many people that love writing. So I'm like, amazing. Yes, SEO might not be as sexy as like, a viral reel on the, on the off, like looking at it. But actually, that's the thing that's going to bring you traffic organically in 3, 6, 12, 3 years time. And so actually
longevity, isn't it, as well? It's getting more bang for your buck. It's about getting something that's going to work for you harder, not, disappear in 24 hours.
Exactly. So we'd look at what other tools are out there, which often get overlooked since social media, and we might start there. But equally, it's always then about, what I find with women particularly is that we label ourselves, and we think, like you said earlier, we take ourselves out of the game. So we're like, oh, I'm a bit introverted, I don't like the idea of showing up on reels. Very rarely that's the actual reason. It's usually there will be something mindset based that's stopping them, some sort of limiting belief often. But what we would do is do a little bit of work on that. But okay, so how can you still do a reel? Because reels can form part of your strategy, but it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else's. You can create a reel where you're not even on camera. You can use tools that create gorgeous moving images with words. You could narrate from behind the camera. It doesn't have to look like what I think people think and they end up comparing themselves to. And that's the discussion that I'll have with my clients, and coming up, like you said earlier, with a strategy that it will tick loads of the same points, but it's adjusted and it works for that person, because it will not be sustainable. If I said to you, as somebody who hated getting up in front of the camera, or you have to make 4 reels a day, every day, dancing around, otherwise you won't be successful, you won't grow. You might do it for a week or 2, but it would drop off because you would hate it. So it's not going to be sustainable.
Like moving away from it. But I think it's also, I totally agree with everything you said. There's always a workaround, but I think what helps is if you find out, like, think about the intention, like, what is the purpose of that content? Well, it's something bite-sized that is engaging, and see it as an opportunity. Like, it's a real opportunity for somebody to see you in your authority, in your element, in your flow, like talking about what you love. And when you see it from that viewpoint, rather than it's just about entertaining and viral content, because viral content isn't always a great thing, then it kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Actually, it's just about being able to deliver your message. Yeah, it really does help, I think, for a lot of women to not feel like, oh, haven't got to be perfectly polished and dancing, and which no one wants to see me dance on a TikTok. Like, honestly, even my kids are like, no, please make it stop.
I love a good cringeworthy dance. I don't take myself too seriously when it comes to these things, and I'm just, I'll go with it. But no, and I think just to add to that as well, I think as mentors and coaches, we'll know a lot of the time it's also about just having somebody to champion you when you're doing it. So like my clients, it's not always the fact that they don't want to, it's the fact that they feel like a bit of an idiot, or feel a bit embarrassed, or like, what if it's tumbleweed? And then you've got like your mentor or your coach going like, yes, you're awesome, like, how good is that? It just makes you want to do it more. And I think that's why we should never underestimate the power of having a coach or a mentor, like someone on your side, because that can be the bit that really helps you to flourish. Like, and that's what I've noticed in myself since I've invested in myself in that way, is just having someone else that's like, yes, go on, Holly, like, you can do it.
It's just sometimes that validation, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. As a money mindset coach, that's probably the number one thing that I bring to my table with my clients. They're like, what do you think about the pricing on this? Is it too much? And I'm like, probably not. It's probably not even enough. So we need to go. Sometimes you just need that person in your corner saying like, do it.
Yeah, totally.
And it makes all the difference.
Yeah, it 100% does. And I think that's key. And so there's all these elements that come together, and but yeah, just to circle back, like, that's what I'm passionate about, is that we all have our own strengths, our own personalities, and whatever that looks like, you can create a strategy that gets you visible online and gets you attracting your clients. Like, you don't have to feel like, if you don't fit the mold of somebody that maybe you're looking at as successful, that doesn't mean that's the only way. And I think the more we can explore that, the more women will come out and create incredible businesses.
That's what makes it interesting as well, isn't it? That's the thing that really excites me, is that for somebody, and like yourself, that has been online now for probably like 5 years, actually, it's the fact that there is going to be a new wave of businesses, innovations, product types, service types. Like, for me as a coach, I don't know about you, but when I first started coaching, it was like, well, you have like a low ticket offer, and then you go into a group coaching, then you go into like, or you start with your one-to-one, you scale with your group coaching, then maybe some courses. And it was like, is this it? Is this really like, it's A, B, C, D, or E, and that is you done as a coach? And I think it's only from people like us that are like, I don't want to do those things. I don't want to have the standard product suite. Not every type of offer works with me and my energy, my setup at home, my goals for my business. And it's one of the reasons why I only have like one-to-one clients and a mastermind and a low ticket membership. And I don't even do group coaching. I don't do any of the other things. I just do the things that feel good to me. And that's what's going to make it really exciting, isn't it? As things progress even further, that we all start finding our own way and doing how we want.
Absolutely. And again, it comes down to that sustainability piece, in the sense of, you will be able to sustain that as a business owner if you're doing something that gets you in your flow, that feels good, that feels aligned, and that uses your strength. And like, that is the piece, isn't it? Because I think once you're so aware of that, you can design and build your business exactly how you want it to be.
Yeah.
And if you are truly aligned with that, that's going to be the best version of you as a service provider or as a coach mentor. Like, that's going to be the best version of you. So your clients are going to freaking love it, you know, and then that's
and you're going to get a better quality of client as well, because you are showing up in your best energy. You're only going to attract the right kind of people for you. So I was just thinking, actually, as you were saying a minute ago about the benefit of a mentor. I think for me, it's so surprising still how much our mindsets as women have not moved on, from the sense of, like, obviously back in the day, we always pride ourselves on how much we can multitask, how much we hustle, how much we can do, and how much we can we can handle, and how much resilience we have. And it almost becomes like a martyr syndrome, like wearing it with a badge of honor, that we can do everything alone. Yet men, you know, if you get like athletes, high performing leaders, like I've got a coach, probably 2 or 3. And it's fascinating to me as women how we haven't started to realize for our own selves, if I want to optimize my performance and be all I can be, I need somebody pouring into me and showing me the way. Why do you think that is?
Oh my gosh, yes, it's so true. And I was literally, as you were talking, I was like, yes, we used to wear it like a badge of honor. And you said the same expression. And this is, so my podcast is called Can We Have It All, because of that exact thing. Because I just remember, as I was a mum of, you know, 2 babies, side hustling, bringing my own business, and this notion that I feel that women, we constantly ask ourselves, like, you know, I want to be a mum, I want to be a business owner, I want to be super fit, I want to like be the perfect partner, I want to be the perfect whatever. And it's like, can you really be all those things? Can you really have it all? And that's where that conversation kind of started with me. But yeah, I just think, as women innately, generally speaking, obviously, sweeping generalization, we just think that we have to do it all ourselves. And you know, I think we're the carers generally, we're the nurturers, we're the, you know, if you go, whether you're spiritual, religious or not, whatever, we're like the life givers, aren't we? We're the ones that kind of provides that energy in the world. And so, and societally, certainly in our society, you know, the woman was usually the one at home holding up the fort, you know, getting on with it, and like you said, just multitasking, whatever, doing it on our own. Whereas men have been allowed to be much more free in terms of bringing people on to support them, growing teams, you know, outsourcing, whatever. And I just think there's probably that innate and inherited kind of belief system generally certainly in our culture. I can't speak for all the others, but that we just feel like we have to just take it all on our own shoulders. And I did it for years, Rebecca. Like, being a business owner, I could not accept that I might need help, you know, that I might need to bring in support, that I might need a coach, I might need a mentor. That I was like, no, I should be able to do this all myself. That was the conversation. I should be able to. Why? Like, why should you be able to?
Why would you want to? And
why would you want to? And it's almost like unrecognizable now. I've done that development work. It's kind of unrecognizable, because how did I ever feel like that? Why would you ever think you had to be all things to everyone and could possibly sustain that and still be a functioning human being, you know? And especially if anybody does throw kids into the mix or whatever, that's a whole nother job and demand on you. So I mean, I don't know why, but I think probably there's a lot that we've inherited as a society.
The reality is, I don't know many. I do know some, but I don't know many women that are still taking that traditional care, give a role where they are just,
Mm.
you know, I say just, it's not just, it's an absolutely exhausting and thankless task, but, you know, just a stay at home mum. I don't know many women that are still taking those traditional roles where that is all they need to do, and that's their remit, and then their partner goes off, because that's just not the reality of life anymore, is it? That one wage is even enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I mean, unless you know, really hit the lottery, you know, and you've got somebody that's really high achieving, it's just that is not even the reality of our
Mm.
economy or our life anymore. So I would definitely like to be part of that change and supporting women, that it's okay for us to also be that empowered woman that is supported in all areas of life.
Absolutely.
I remember getting a cleaner, and it just felt, even like my partner was like, what? Like, what a waste of money. And I'm like,
Mm.
well, are you going to clean the toilets? And, you know, obviously for me, having like 3 boys in the house, um, there is no satisfaction from cleaning a toilet in my house. You know, like, it's never, that work is never going to be done. My laundry basket is never going to be empty. I have 5 children, one of which is like a little
I
fashionista.
don't know
So
how you do it. I don't know how you
honestly,
do it.
wow, it is something though that even I'm having to like grow and evolve with, and
Mm.
kind of balance that, like, I can do it. I, you know, but should I do it? Does it make commercial sense for me to do it? Like, I can spend an hour, and we were just talking about this offline, weren't we? And I was saying, definitely for part of my growth this year, it's about knowing like the strategic roles that no longer I should be doing,
Mm.
and investing in that team. And that feels like, you know, because I'm so
Totally.
used to doing all the things and being solely reliant on myself. It's just, yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
we get used to it, and it's habitual. And I think this is a good thing about social media, is we talk about it more and we see. So this is the exciting thing, I think, for women particularly, is we are hearing that, you know, for some, being a stay-at-home mum or whatever, or just stay at home, isn't enough, isn't fulfilling, or, you know, people want to leave the 9 to 5, or, and I think those thoughts and conversations have probably always been there, but not on such a wide scale, or people didn't feel maybe like they could discuss it and could say it. So now that that is like almost allowed, I think that's why we're seeing a movement of like much more empowered women, you know, doing their own thing and building their own thing. And the more, as entrepreneurs, we share, like we just had a conversation before this about what team I'm building and where I need to like let go and get that support, then it's like, if that sort of, yeah, like empowering each other
Yeah.
to make those decisions too, and kind of going, oh, okay, cool, that's like, that's how it works, I can do that then, like that's what other people do too, you know. And
And
I
I'm so
think
grateful for that, because I have to say that for a long time, part of my story was the fact that when I was in corporate, you know, I had very little maternity leave with my children. I always had like romanticized the idea of being at home with my kids, and being an entrepreneur. It was like, I really thought I would be that mum that would just be so like, I just thought I was going to be a different mum, and just, you know, be like finger painting with the kids and
oh yeah,
doing all these
all
beautiful things.
sensory activities.
Yeah, and the reality is, like, I'm not that mum. And I don't know who
Mm.
even that version of me thought that I would be that mum, because even, you know, and I am that mum in the sense that, you know, I'm on the PTA, I'm at every like event, I'm doing the homework, like I'm very present. But I know myself now, having had that freedom, that in theory I could sit and do like maybe a couple of days a week in my business and lead a very relaxed lifestyle. Actually, my personality needs that,
Yeah.
constant new energy, that inspiration, that creative outlet. For me, just being at home with the baby all day and watching baby TV, I mean, she's mean as well. She hurts me all the time. She hits me, and she pulls my hair, and she's mean to the dog, you know, and it's like, this is just not what I thought it was going to be. But thank God for conversations like this, where I
Yeah.
can sort of, you know, ask around and be like, does anyone else feel like maybe they might want to do something else, and it isn't quite what
Oh
they
my gosh.
thought?
Totally. And I'm like, I'm a better mum when I have a bit of time away from my kids. Like, you know, and I love them. I love being a mum. I love that relationship. But I know where my limitations are, when I need to go off and be Holly, you know, and I just think that's so important. And I think that was a big conversation that I probably was having, again, sort of not at all strategically, when I was growing my brand. I think what people love to see was the reality that I was like, baby in arms, who didn't sleep for 4 years. So I didn't get those like an hour and a half nap times 3 times a day to do my work. I was like, shit, you know, and strung out. But people, I think, really, you know, found kind of comfort in that, and sort of were like, oh my gosh, that's like the reality of it. And okay, I'm not failing. And maybe I need to take that pressure off, because again, as women, I just think we load ourselves with pressure. So you kind of going, I want to be this kind of mum. Like, dads don't think like that. Sorry for, again, another sweeping generalization, but dads don't think, oh, I'm going to be the like sensory dad
really
or this.
Don't,
you know, they just you know, they just go with it, go with the flow, and they are what they are. And it's like, I think we need a little bit of that as women, don't we?
Yeah, a bit of grace maybe for ourselves, that it's okay to be a person as well as a mum. And as well as even as a coach, you know, reaffirming those boundaries of, like you were saying, about responsibility over as well. It's just been such a journey. Like, being an entrepreneur, it really has made me a better woman. And that was so unexpected. As a side note, I was like, I'm just going to be able to make money and help make the world a better place. But actually, it's also made me such a better person as well, which has been quite an unexpected plot twist. I'm like,
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, you're like the best person. You're so amazing.
Oh, thank you. Don't ask me to finger paint though. Honestly, I'm just a nightmare. Like,
I have some limitations, but you know.
And the OCD element as well. Do you find this with your kids? Because we're so, like, as an events thing as well, it's like I can set every activity up beautifully. It will be amazing. I would have thought of everything. I'll have all of the Instagram shots ready to go as well. But then actually getting into it, even I'm bored after like 5 minutes. Yeah, and I'm like, you're like, what are you doing? You're doing it wrong.
I am so that person. We've obviously got a very similar personality now, because I am that, and I have to go, Holly, stop it. Like, they're just children they're flourishing right now, loving like the experience. And I'm like leaning over and going, no, not like that. Don't do that. So I have to like.
My son brought home like one of those Christmas card projects the other day, and I'm thinking, like, this is going to be printed on like pretty much everything but a mouse mat, and
every
got, like, 2
detail,
lines. And then it's like a neon yellow and a something else, and I'm like, do we not want to like maybe?
Are you sure?
Yeah, like, granddad's gonna get this. Do we not want to maybe put a Christmas tree on it? Maybe some glitter, like some snow?
Oh
like
my God, I had my boy came back with something completely unrelated to Christmas on his design. It was just some sort of like abstract, you know, squiggle basically. And I was like, should we add a present or put some stars on it? He was like, no, I love it. No. And I'm like, oh, be a good person, Holly. Be a good person. Just let him have his like.
I can't wait to have this on a tea towel.
Immortalized for the rest of life.
I got it back one year from my son, and I think the difference between boys and girls, like, we're going off on such a tangent, but like, my daughter got that, like, they've all been through the same school, so my daughter got that task. It was a masterpiece. It was beautiful. Like, the grandparents were like, oh, we're going to treasure this forever. And then my son Riley got the same thing, and it was literally like 2 X's on a page that they actually sent it back, and they thought we hadn't done it. They were like, you do know,
like, you
can do the use the full page, like, you know. And I'm like, no, that is literally it. That was him. And he literally was like, peace out, I'm done.
I had noticed that the orders from the family have like declined over the years. You know, I think we peaked with my daughter, like you said, we peaked with all the mugs, all the tea towels were ordered. Now everyone's like, I'll just have 1 pack of tags. That'll do. And I'm like, oh.
It's so funny, isn't it? I remember like my first Mother's Day with my daughter, who's like going to be 12 next week. Literally that year, I was laughing because my partner thought it was hilarious to literally get everything. I had a mouse mat. I had like the magnet for the fridge. He got me a t-shirt.
Cap, cushion.
Literally. And I think everyone in the family also got the same thing, like same things as well. It's so funny. And then last year, it's like, here's some flowers. Good luck.
Oh, the things we do as parents.
I know. And I just love that it is like this movement though, where it's okay to do that, like, and to just be yourself, because you know that's what makes it interesting. So if anybody is kind of like contemplating right now, or maybe their business is stalling a little bit and they're not getting the visibility that they want online, you know, what would kind of be like either your tips to share to kind of start getting that energy back into their business so it is more in alignment with them? Is there any, or even any things that you think are maybe untapped opportunities to get more visible online?
So I think there's 2 answers to that. One is probably people may have touched on this before, but I always think when you're stalling or feeling a bit stagnant, or your growth or your engagement stagnant, it's revisiting those foundational blocks of understanding your mission and your why, really leaning into your values. So we've talked a little bit about today, and we've recognized that we share some values, right? So your audience will recognize that they share values too, and that's what's going to attract them. And I think often when we feel a bit like we've plateaued, we've probably become a bit complacent with our messaging. And so sometimes it's just literally going back to, I love like a journaling practice, or like a kind of writing your story practice, where you're just like, what's my why? What's my mission? Why am I doing this? What are my key values? What are my strengths? And reminding yourself. And I honestly say to my clients to do that once a quarter, really, because it just gives you that like bit of a re-energizes you to then, because then you've suddenly got stuff to say, because you're like, oh, I know what I can bring to the table.
And sometimes it's because like we've both been on that journey where it might be that you kind of outgrown some of the things that you're talking about, and that's why you've come a bit detached from your business. As she was saying that, I was like, yeah, that's probably why as well, isn't it? Like you say, just having that reconnection exercise, almost like a date night, but with your business.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Yeah, I'm stealing that. I love it. No, because and that's true, and it's often we just get so caught up in the doing. We're just doing that you don't actually sit outside of your business and take a moment and go, oh yeah, is that actually in line with blah blah blah? And I think so really scheduling that time, like I said, I recommend it quarterly, to kind of go, whether that's in a CEO day, whether that's just a blocked out Friday morning, just do it and reconnect, because I can guarantee it will spark energy that will come through in your marketing. And I guess as the second answer to that question, which, I really feel like I need to create something that's called like sexy SEO, but I think search and SEO is so untapped now. So blogging was this like incredible thing, and people kind of started to understand how you can be searched. And then social media came and took over. And then we've all been so focused in social media that we sort of forgot to go back to what was then considered the basics of digital marketing, which is a presence online,
So when you say that SEO, do you mean as in, so for anybody that isn't familiar, because I still work with clients that don't even have websites. They've just got like a landing page or a something, and that's it. Or they've got a link tree and they don't even have a website. So is that what you mean when you say SEO? It's about optimizing your website to be more searchable online?
Absolutely. Yeah. So sorry, I forget. So search engine optimization is basically where giving yourself the ability to show up in search engine results like Google. I think we all kind of probably default to thinking of Google. There are other search engines out there. But yeah, it's giving yourself that presence. And actually, as entrepreneurs, that's organic traffic. That's not paid for. It's not costing us any money. And actually, that's like the gold dust for us. And I have inquiries or hits to my website from work that I did years ago, right? Blog posts that I wrote or whatever it might be. And I find like that missing link with my clients is when they start to go, oh, an inquiry came through. I have no idea where it came from. And then they look and it's come through Google. Then you know that you're starting to build that longevity for your business. So I always kind of think if you've not considered it, then I would strongly advise that you have a website that's your own. Link trees and all of those are great, and they're a great accessible route into business. And I would never say don't use things like that, because sometimes that's what we got to start with. But if you find that you have the space, I would get yourself a WordPress website. I'd get your own domain, and it doesn't even have to be a huge website at this point. It could be just a couple of landing pages, but start to create regular content. And by that, I mean a blog post. And the more you can be writing in the words and the things that the expressions that you use, the expressions that your client might be searching for, you're giving yourself an opportunity to show up in those results pages, and you're giving your business far more longevity. So
that's so powerful, isn't it? And it's about building that brand as well. So that obviously positions you as an expert if you're appearing in those searches, but it is the longevity piece. And I think a lot of us right now, definitely with me, with my clients, I'm not really advising any strategies around Instagram and Facebook, because they're such unstable platforms right now, and it genuinely, you need to treat your business like a business, and that is not an opportunity right now. That's almost like a liability, because you've got very little control over the reach. Obviously what you're saying about the content and stuff that you're creating gives you the best possible chance of success in that if somebody is then at least finding your content, and it's, you know, a true reflection of you, it's true in alignment with what it is that you're sharing, then you're going to convert off that anyway. But if you want to actually create longevity in your business and give yourself the best possible success, it's all of the business fundamentals, isn't it, and basics, going back to basics. That's so funny, actually. Yeah, I have always taught in that way because I'm very old school. So and where I was offline before I was online, it was about, how do I just get out and meet somebody? How do I get out and have a conversation with somebody? That's going to get me closer to sale. And yet so I'd go to networking events. I'd be out in the high street. Like, I was that girl, mad person, giving out leaflets on a weekend. I was in other businesses and chamber of commerce and all of the unsexy things that probably lots of millennials and people that
they're
are
like,
used
what
to
the hell's that?
Oh my God, they're like, I don't actually want to talk to people. Like, I don't want to be in front of people and have to touch them.
And it's like, business card.
Yeah, it's like, but I love that. I would much rather have a conversation than spend hours crafting a sales page. That's actually like torture to me, because it's like, I just want to talk to somebody, and then they'll want to work with me. Then they'll understand the vision. And that has certainly like served me better in business. Like, you know, I've got business funding, I've got investments, I've won awards, and that hasn't been on the basis of carefully created like sales pages and things. It's been about just getting in front of the right people with the right energy, and those are sometimes the basic business principles that people just don't want to do. So I love that we're aligned in that way.
Yeah, and I think that is, and you know, this is one of the things that I, you know, do come back to, is I just think there needs to be more depth, right? I think there just needs to be a bit more depth with business growth and with marketing and with how we understand. I think, without sounding like too much of a grandma in the online space, I do think it's amazing in so many ways, but this quick opportunity of growth online also makes people feel a bit disillusioned and almost sort of entitled to success.
Yes.
Without doing all the foundational, the graft, the, like, you know, standing on the street corner in the rain, handing out leaflets, metaphorically or physically. I think a lot of people haven't been through those steps, you know, and it's like, actually, I feel that makes you a bit more gritty and a bit more resilient.
And the creativity that if one thing isn't working, you know that you'll find another way. I saw I'm going to have to tag you in on it later, you're going to absolutely die, but there was a post online and it was like this funny video about this guy who was like, I want to be a life coach, and it was like this advert, like, make loads of money, don't have to do any work, don't need any formal qualifications. And then he got onto his first call and the person's like, and he's like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do?
Like, what do I do?
Harder than I thought. And it's like having a moment of like white privilege entitlement, and it was like enlightenment, and it was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a coach for coaches who coach coaches. Like, amazing. Back on the like 6-figure earning hustle.
But this is it, isn't it? And you've got to, like, and you know, and I sometimes think, I'm glad that I've had the shitty jobs. I'm glad that I've had, you know, the crappy experiences or whatever, because that makes you. And I think a successful entrepreneur has had so many fails. You know, they've had to build resilience. They've had to re-pick themselves up off the ground. And I think, I think there's that depth in that, and that depth translates to your marketing strategy as well. Like, I really think we have to be thinking beyond the glamour of social media, albeit not very glamorous to most at the moment. I'm sure everybody's really pissed off with it at the moment, but that's exactly why, if you had a little bit of sexy SEO going on in the background, you wouldn't be as caught up in it, you know. And you know, I just think, if you think about our buying patterns outside of this space, if you were to meet someone or want to buy something or be recommended, what would you do first? You'd go and Google it, and you'd go and to check that it was legit, or to check, you know, what other people were saying about it. So why are we not thinking of ourselves as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs in that same light? So
it's like, if you think about it logically, the people that are going to find you online are much more motivated buyers, because they've actually gone out to find a solution. The people that are on Instagram and Facebook are not motivated buyers. It's interruption marketing, isn't it? It's like they've gone
Yeah.
on to look at cats and see what Susan had for lunch, and we're like, have you thought about doing
Hi
this?
there.
Have you thought about doing this? And they're like, no, I just want to see funny reels. Like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, it's like the smartest thing to actually aim for those buyers that are already motivated and looking for a solution, and make sure that you are the person that pops
yeah,
up as that person. Um,
yeah.
so honestly, like, absolutely, thank you so much, value in this
Oh,
episode already, and you are literally like speaking from my soul too, because it's not sexy, but it's what is going to build sustainable, credible businesses that are going to be here that you
absolutely.
build generational wealth on, which feels really, really exciting. So if somebody was interested in kind of diving into this work deeper, I know that, like me, you also have a mastermind, which
Hmm.
again is like, it's like the double blessing, because you get all of the strategy, all of Holly's incredible energy and experience and wisdom and all of the things, but you also get community, which is just a game changer as well, I think, when it comes to business too.
Absolutely. And that is a key value of mine, is community. And it's all, been through every thread and every iteration of my business journey. Community's been at the heart of it. And so actually the mastermind for me, I know you were saying this about yours as well, is like probably my favorite thing I've ever done inside my business. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I can see, and I know from being inside a mastermind myself and how I'm flourishing in that, I can see the women flourishing in this space where they get support. They're basically building their own little business besties, I call them, like their own little network of people that they're going to grow and move on at some point, and they'll still have lifelong friends and support and champions. And yeah, it's a really incredible space to get strategic with people who are on the same page, get support and feel safe and held. And I think that's so important.
Fantastic. So I'm going to put all, and I just literally echo everything you said. I think that for me, again, is what, and conversations like this and collaborations is what really has supported me and enables other women to just like really flourish. Like you say, like you put it in such an eloquent way, but it is essentially just, blossoming into something that is far more exceptional than you even know. Like, we've not even tapped the surface of that. So I'm going to make sure that all of your details are in your show notes. Like, oh, your mastermind sounds so beautiful as well. And also, you love an event. So I'm like, it would be a party to be part of your community. Absolutely.
I
was
love an
looking at
event.
your Manchester date.
Yes, and I am. So that's another thing. Anyone who's in the mastermind, anyone who works with me one-to-one, like, I host an event at least once a quarter, but I'll be honest, I've got the bug again. It's kind of every other month at the moment. And next year is going to be a big year of things like retreats. So anyone who's in my world.
Yes, you've got a retreat in Tuscany, which sounds incredible.
Tuscany at the end of this month, darling. I'm very excited. No, I'm really, really excited to kind of explore that side again, because I just think we all untrained ourselves during the pandemic, didn't we, from that in-person connection. And I've really realized that that's where I come into my own, is when I've got that, again, that depth, that connection with people. And so in-person events and things like that are just an added level of that I can bring to my world. And I'm really, really excited for it.
Yes. Oh, I can't. Well, I'm so excited for you, but also, I may be there. You never know. But I think, I think
there's always a space for you there, darling.
I think those immersive experiences truly are like the greatest gift that you can give yourself as well, because taking yourself out of your environment, removing all of the layers of the everyday, I need to do this, I should be doing that, like the kids, and just bringing it back to yourself and allowing yourself that space, just sounds like the most useful experience. And that's truly where transformation happens. So I'm so excited for that. Thank you so much for being here today. I couldn't be more grateful.
I've loved it. Loved it.
I feel like this has been almost like just like, I was about to say like geek porn. It's like that sort of thing where it's like, oh, let's talk about SEO and algorithms. Like, this has been so good for my soul as well.
Yay.
Honestly, thank you so much for being here. I will make sure that all of the ladies can find you and get more details about all of those incredible opportunities with you and events as well, which is really exciting. So I hope you have a fantastic day, ladies. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and you share the magic of Hollywood with your friends. And I'll see you on the next episode.